Hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope most of my students are on and they are logged in. Hello, can you hear me? I don't see any comment from my student side. Yes, good afternoon. Continuing from where I had stopped in the last class, I was in Act 3 of Julius Caesar, right? So Julius Caesar, even with all those cautions, and also advice from his wife. Uh, but he neglects all that. He neglects all that, but he comes and attends the senators' meeting. He comes and attends the senators' meeting, accompanied by Mark Antony. Mark Antony. You all know the secret senators, like secret seven conspirators. They are all waiting to kill Brutus, to kill Caesar here. But here, in fact, like this Cassius, in fact, when he tries to what stimulate or tries to taunt or make fun of Caesar, but Caesar is ready to counter him. Like he says, in fact, Caesar compares himself to a northern star. A northern star under Dhruva Nakshatra. Dhruva, he compares himself to a northern star. He says, I am as constant as northern star. So northern star is always situated in the northern direction. It is constant, it is stable. In the same way, I am as constant as northern star. I don't change my character or my behavior with a changing situation. My behavior, my character remains the same. I am as constant as the northern star. He compares himself to the northern star. ಧ್ರುವ ನಕ್ಷತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ ಯಾರು ಜೂಲಿಯಸ್ ಸೀಸರ್ to himself. So you can see at the same time, at the time of killing these seven sacred Romans, utter these three famous words. They are liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. Liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. You can see Cinna, the other senator, Cinna, Cinna, Casca, Cassius, they all, even Brutus. Brutus also utters the same words. Liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. Ambitious death is paid. Ambitious death is paid. Liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. So Caesar is murdered. Caesar is backstabbed. It is I think it is Casca who killed from the back. Casca, Decius, Cinna, Cassius, Brutus. Okay, they all have assembled, but the only again Julius Caesar has come only one with one man, that is Mark Antony. So Mark Antony is accompanying Julius Caesar, but Mark Antony is also not aware of what is going on here, what is the plan. But Mark Antony is shocked to see his loyal friend, his close friend, Julius Caesar is being killed. He's been killed by another friend, that is Brutus, Marcus Brutus. You know, there is ironic contrast here. Ironic contrast here. The irony is they utter the words like liberty, freedom, but whereas they all involve in cold-blooded murder. Cold-blooded murder, isn't it? So cold-blooded murder. You can see the blood-stained body. The blood-stained body of Caesar is evidence of murder versus peace and liberty. They all speak about peace, liberty, and freedom, but whereas on the other side, they all involve in the killing of Julius Caesar. That is ironic contrast here. Ironic contrast, and you can see what happens. There is even Brutus. He in fact asked the other senators to again bathe their hands in the blood of Julius Caesar. Let us bathe our hands in Caesar's blood. Peace, freedom, and liberty. So you can see we may move with the pity of Caesar's death. Caesar dies in Act 3, but we may be moved. Like it's an heart-touching scene. We feel pity and disappointed for the way Julius Caesar is murdered in Act 3. But at the same time, we should also recognize, we should also recognize, we should also recognize the pathos of Brutus, the pathos of Brutus obliged to kill Julius Caesar for the sake of principle, for the sake of principle or ideology, the Republican ideology. So, which is very very important. He was obliged to kill his own friend for the sake of upholding what Republican ideology. So here we can see Antony is very very cunning. In fact, in order to escape from the clutches of these seven sacred Romans, he calls them as the as he addresses them as gentlemen, in order to escape, because he knows that he's fully aware that if he tries to retort or respond them at the time of killing, they would not spare him. They would not spare him. He's fully aware of it. That is the reason why, in order to escape from that situation, he calls them. He addresses those seven sacred Romans as gentlemen. It's he is angry. He is angry and furious to again by saying the killing of his own friend. Naturally, there is a kind of hatred or anger arising in the mind of Mark Antony towards his own friend, again towards the seven secret Romans. But the problem is, he sustains that anger. He holds it. He holds it for a particular time or a particular period. In order, like he feels that again, if he retorts or responds at this juncture, they would not spare him. That is the reason why critics consider Mark Antony as one of the cunning character. He is more cunning than Cassius, to be honest, because even he has nurtured the ambition of becoming the king of Roman Empire. Okay, Roman Empire. Sorry, even he has nurtured the ambition of becoming the king of Roman Empire, but he hides it. He is not ready to express it. So that is the reason why, in order to escape from that situation, he addresses the seven sacred Romans as the gentleman, and he sustains that anger for a proper situation. He wants these people to be punished at a particular situation, at a particular. He waits for his opportunity to be precise. He waits for his opportunity to take revenge for killing of Julius Caesar. So Mark Antony is another interesting character in this play, and Mark Antony's funeral speech is very very important. They may ask you for short notes or even for 10 marks question, like 10 marks. It may appear in the exam for 10 marks in the list of 10 marks questions. Like Mark Antony's funeral speech, or sketch the character of Mark Antony. Very very interesting character apart from Brutus, Cassius, and Caesar. Okay. And coming into this again, the funeral speech, you can see that in funeral speech, he calls them as honorable men. There is a satire, a kind of irony. There is a kind of satire, a kind of irony. He addresses them as honorable men. He again honorable gentlemen of Rome. So in order to the reason is he wanted them to be ripped apart. He wanted to make them nude or naked in front of the public. So there is a public trial. It's a public trial takes place, and he denounces the deeds of these seven secret Romans very sarcastically. He is not directly attacking the seven secret Roman conspirators, but again, as I told you, Antony's political oratory political oratory is such that the audience are often taken in by it. His emotion is genuine. It is the subtle manipulation of the audience which lies beneath the apparent artlessness of the speech that is so clever. You don't see the speech being so artful, like it is not artistic speech, but it tries to be genuine. No, Roman mob is another important. Roman mob itself is a character. The changing mood, the swaying mood of the public. So the swaying mood of the public. So wherever the power is, the mood of the public shifts or changes. It shifts, isn't it? It shifts or changes. Swiftly it changes or shifts. So that is the reason why Roman mob also plays major role. Also plays a major role in the play. Roman mob, Mark Antony's funeral speech, because Roman mob they are ready to believe whatever that is put forth before them. But here Mark Antony has bought the body of Julius Caesar, and it has been kept in front of the Roman mob, and he asked the Roman mob to give justice for Caesar's killing. So in a way, he tries to convince and persuade the Roman mob to be furious or angry towards these seven secret Romans. So in that way, he succeeds. He succeeds in the play, and we look at this famous speech of Antony: friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar. I come to bury Caesar, not to prize him, not to prize him. I have come here to bury Caesar, not to prize him. The evil that men do lies after them. The good is often interred with their bones. So let it be with the Caesar. The noble Brutus, I told you Caesar was ambitious. So here, very, very interesting factor is, the very interesting factor in this funeral speech is, that thing you should keep it in mind, that according to the agreement, Antony is able to convince the seven secret Romans to have a speech in front of the Roman mob or the Roman public. But the thing is, he allows the secret conspirators to speak first, and keeps his chance to the end, so that he can talk freely, he can justify, like he has to defend the Caesar's decision of becoming king, because he has to speak against these seven conspirators that he cannot do in front of these secret seven conspirators. The reason is, he is, as I told you, he is not a brave warrior. He is not ready to confront them bravely. That is the reason why he is not ready to take them on head on, or face off. Like he is, in the sense, like he's a type of character who waits for his opportunity. A cunning personality, you can say, a cunning character, you can say. In that way, like he waits for his opportunity. He allows Brutus, Cassius to speak. Okay, they all speak, and they all address the Roman mob. They all defend their cause of killing Julius Caesar. No, look at the way Brutus defends his killing. He says that not that I loved Caesar less. Very, very important statement. This line justifies Brutus like a character, like what kind of noble character or personality he is. Because the reason is, he shares his intention, or the proper cause, that he has, the proper cause behind his killing of Brutus. Sorry, as Brutus killing of Caesar. Like, look at the way he defends his cause. Not that I loved Caesar less, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more, but that I loved Rome more than Caesar. It doesn't mean that I love Caesar less. I love Caesar, but not above the Rome. The Roman means, it shows the patriotic zeal, the patriotism. You can call him as a chauvinistic, one who loves his again nation immensely. Okay, chauvinistic, very very chauvinistic. Oh, Brutus. He loves Rome more than anybody. That is the reason why he says, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. So he says, had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves than that Caesar were dead to live all freemen. So then the intention behind killing Caesar is to make you all freemen. I don't want to see you becoming slaves. I don't want to see you becoming slaves because Julius Caesar was ambitious. He was all set to become a tyrant and oppressive king. And at the same time, he also says, as Caesar loved me, I weep for him. Caesar loved me. Caesar had great regard, love for me as a friend. So as Caesar loved me, I weep for him. I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at him. So he was lucky. I enjoyed because of his fortunes. Fortunes means he was lucky to win wars. He was lucky to win so on so many occasions. So he ran against death. He ran against death, but still Caesar was fortunate. He was very, very lucky. For that, I rejoice it. I enjoyed. As he was valiant, I honor him. He was valiant. He was very, very brave. I honor him for that. Okay. But as he was ambitious, I slew him. Slew means what? To cut. Okay. As he was ambitious, I slew him. There is tears for his love. There is tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. At the same time, he also says, who is here so rude that would not be a Roman? If any speak for him, have I offended? Who is here so vile that will not love his country? So is there anybody in this Roman mob who doesn't love his country? So for me, love towards country stands afar. So if you ask me to show my regard or love towards whether to choose between love means whether to choose between country or Caesar, I'll choose country. That is the reason why I killed Julius Caesar. That is what he means there. Okay, for me, Rome stands uh, at the pinnacle. At the pinnacle means I am not ready to compromise. I don't compromise again in my love towards Rome or again in comparison with Julius Caesar. So that is what he means. So look at this Mark Antony on the other hand. He is very, very sarcastic. He repeatedly calls them as honorable gentlemen, okay, who killed. In that way, he tries to create a kind of what you can again a kind of hanger, a public outrage. He tries to create a kind of public outrage towards these seven secret Romans. So in that way, people are angry. They want to kill the seven conspirators. They all chase them, and you can see in the next act, Brutus, Cassius, Cinna, Decius, Casca, they are all united. They are trying to wage a war against whom? You can see Octavius Caesar returning from his foreign trip. Octavius Caesar has come back. So Octavius Caesar is Julius Caesar's brother. He comes back and he joins hands with Mark Antony, and Mark Antony and Octavius Caesar. Okay, they defeat not only they defeat, they try to conquer these seven secret Romans, but with the public support, with so many soldiers. At last, when they feel that they are going to be caught, they are going to be imprisoned. It is Cassius who kills himself first, and again next it is Brutus who kills himself. He has his servant, he's a slave, to bring the spear. He runs and he kills himself. Who? Marcus Brutus. The ending of this plays very interesting. They allow all the other seven secret, sorry, six secret conspirators' body to lie in the battlefield, but on the command of Mark Antony and Octavius Caesar, they bring the body of Marcus Brutus because they feel that it is only Marcus Brutus who deserves a respectable last journey, a respectable funeral, you can say. So they ask their soldiers to bring the body of Octavius Caesar. You see, this is what happens. Octavius Caesar, in fact, calls not Octavius Caesar, it is Marcus Antony. He has highest regard for Mark Antony has highest regard for Marcus Brutus. This is what he says in the end. This was the noblest. This was the noblest of them all. This was the noblest of them all. All the conspirators, save only he, did that they did in envy of great Caesar. All the other conspirators killed Julius Caesar for the sake of jealous. For the sake of jealous. They were all power hungry. They were all power hungry, whereas Brutus is different. No, this was the noblest Roman of them all. So his corpse, his body is kept in the tent in the battlefield. They bring the body of Brutus. His body is kept there. They want to show regard or respect for him. Look at these words of Mark Antony. Okay, he says, this was the noblest Roman of them all. All the other conspirators, save only he. Save only he means except him. Except him did that they did in envy of great Caesar. They all killed Caesar because of jealous. Envy means jealous. He only in a general honest thought and common good to all made one of them. His life was gentle. So he is the only warrior, he is the only conspirator of the seven conspirators who had a cause, proper common cause. He killed Caesar for common cause, not for selfish motive, not of jealous, not because of jealous. He killed Caesar because of what? Because of upholding the republican ideology of principles. So, and common good to all made one of them. His life was gentle. His life was gentle, isn't it? And the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up. So he expects even nature. Mark Antony expects even nature to stand up, to show some regard or respect towards Marcus Brutus. Towards Marcus Brutus, so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man. This was a man. He was a man. He is a perfect man. So means you don't find a small glimpse of what evilness or bad characteristic in Marcus Brutus. That is why that is the reason why I told you at the very initial stage of the play that Marcus Brutus is the only character with whom we fall in love as a reader or as a theatre-going audience. The reason is Marcus Brutus' character is such that Shakespeare has built such a character that yes, he is pointless. He is pointless. You can't find a black mark in his image, in his characteristic or in his personality. That is the reason why there is a highest regard. Even his opponents show respect towards Marcus Brutus. Opponents like Mark Antony and Octavius Caesar, they all show respect towards Brutus, and that is the reason why they asked the soldiers to bring his body to show him, to give him a fitting for last final rites, you can say. And Octavius Caesar, according to his virtue, let us use him with all respect and rites of burial. Rites of burial within my tent, his bones tonight shall lie. So within my tent, his body should be kept. His body should be allowed to lie. Okay. most like a soldier, ordered honorably, so call the field to rest, and let's away to part the glories of this happy day. So they have won the war. They have won the war. They all happily leave the battlefield. At the same time, they also discuss about giving a fitting final rites or final what uh, final journey or funeral again giving you fitting right or final rights or it's like they have highest regard and they want to show it in that way by giving a proper proper funeral rites or rituals by following proper funeral rituals. So in that way the play ends. But the thing is, the most important again important questions that may appear in the exam is like consider Julius Caesar again the tragedy. Consider Julius Caesar as a play of tragedy. Okay, or consider Julius Caesar as a tragic play, And the next question that may appear in the exam is sketch the character of Marcus Brutus. And the third important question is discuss discuss or comment on Mark Antony's funeral speech. And they may also ask you a question on Roman mob for short notes. Roman mob, what kind of again attitude they had. At the same time, they may also ask you questions about Casca, Cassius, and other minor characters. They may also ask you questions on Calpurnia and Portia for 5 marks. Isn't it? At the same time, they may also ask you a question about the title itself, justify the title, whether the story of the play Julius Caesar justifies the title. Julius Caesar means nowhere in the after Act 3 you feel the presence of Julius Caesar, but still why it is named after Julius Caesar, that's very important. So focus on these questions. Prepare yourself for exam on these questions, particularly for this particular text. Okay, Mark Antony's funeral speech, Roman mob, female characters like Calpurnia and Portia. They may ask you a question on consider again Julius Caesar as a tragic play. They may also ask you a question about Marcus Brutus' character. Okay, or sketch the character of Marcus Brutus, or comment on the role played by Marcus Brutus in Julius Caesar. So they may ask you such questions in the exam. So I expect you to answer those questions well. So that's it for Julius Caesar again, for this session. Again, not this section. That's it for again on this particular text. Again, I'm going to wind up this particular text. I'm going to switch on to the other text, that is the Tempest. The Tempest, I have got another half an hour, 33 minutes in fact to deal with. So if you feel like I can go with other text, you please pass on the comment in the comment box. Now I'll go with the other text, that is the Tempest. Now Tempest is considered as the last play of Julius Caesar. Some critics do believe that it is the last play or the farewell or goodbye play by Shakespeare to the stage. So it is the last play. The reason why critics have come to the conclusion to call it as a last play of Shakespeare is, as I told you, like Julius Caesar, William Shakespeare experiments. He violates the three unities that Aristotle speaks about in poetics in all the remaining 36 plays. But whereas when it comes to this particular play, he follows those three unities. Which are those three unities? Unity of time, unity of place, unity of action. You know, in plays like Merchant of Venice, even in Julius Caesar, you can see the shift in action. There is no unity of time, unity of action, unity of place. Shakespeare violates all those three unities even in the play like Julius Caesar. But when it comes to his last play, that is the Tempest, which was published in 1613, 1613. It was enacted on the stage. It was published in 1625. Sorry, it was enacted on stage in the year 1613, 1613. So it was enacted in the again on that on the stage in that particular year. In that particular year, so 1613. So that is the reason why, because he violates those three unities in all the other plays, but in the play The Tempest, he follows those three unities. He adopts those three unities to prove one thing, that he was often very often or quite often used to receive lot of criticism from other critics, from other writers about for not following the three unities. But in order to prove them wrong, Shakespeare in this last play, that is the Tempest, follows those three unities. So he wanted to prove them wrong. That means he wants to show his caliber, prove his caliber. He wanted to show the theatre world that he can follow those three unities and still can write a play. Still can write a play. So in this particular play, as I told you, uh, uh, the Tempest is considered as the last play and a farewell play to the stage. So he set out to prove that he could observe the three unities with absolute brilliance. And you see, the entire story is restricted. Entire story or the means almost all the actions, not almost all the actions in the play, entire play, the incidents that takes place in the play happens within a particular place. It happens in an island. All the incidents that you see in this play happens in a particular small island. Okay, and that is the reason why you can probably say that Shakespeare has followed what? Unity of place. So all the incidents, actions that you see in this particular play takes place in a small or a tiny island. Okay, in that way, he is able to restrict the story to a small island. In that way, he is able to follow the unity of place. And the next thing is the entire story doesn't consume much time. The entire story, the incidents that happens in this particular play doesn't consume much time. The incident that you see that takes place in this play happens within 4 hours. Within 4 hours. In that way, he is able to what? He is able to follow unity of time. All the incidents, I mean, he adopts flashback technique. He adopts flashback technique. Each character, not flashback technique, each character has got a flashback. Sorry. Each character has got a flashback, has got history. They have got some story to tell. They all have come. They all have gathered in an island. So they have got nexus, interconnection. They are all interrelated. Characters are interrelated. Okay, but they have got a past. It has got connection, link. That past has got a link or connection. So that link or connection that has undergone in the past, that has happened in the past, has something to do with the present. Has got something to do with the present. That is the reason why you can see all the incidents that you see in this play takes place within 4 hours in a small island, unity of time. Within 4 hours, unity of time. You don't see characters juggling from past to present and from present to past. All the characters do play a role in the present tense, but they have something to do with the past. Got it? They have something to do with the past. In that way, Shakespeare is able to follow unity of time, and the next thing is unity of place. Isn't it? So because all the incidents or actions that you see in the story in the play takes place in a small island, isn't it? A small island. And the third point is unity of action. So entire story revolves round round a character called Prospero, who tries to undo the wrong done to him. Again, or you can call Prospero, 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 the central character of the play. He is the magician. He is the magician in the play, and he is the central character. He is the leading character. Prospero. Prospero is trying to something. Undo something means they have committed some wrong, some mistake. They have committed some wrong to Prospero, the other characters. So he's trying to undo what the wrong done to him in the past. The wrong done to him in the past by the other characters who have joined him, who have come all the way from Naples. From Naples, Naples is located in present day, in present day Italy. Okay, you know Milan, Naples. Milan is located in Spain, isn't it? No, not Spain. Madrid is located in Spain. Milan is also in Italy. So what I mean to say here is, some places are real, but again Shakespeare again has not given any name to that particular island. It's an imaginary island. It's an imaginary tale. It's a fictional tale. It's not a story based on real incident, real what incidents. No, this is a story that happened. That again, which is fictional. It's a fictional story, not based on any real incident. So in that way, Prospero is a central character that you should not forget. He's trying to undo the wrong that has been done to him in the past by the other characters. Prospero has got a brother whose name is Antonio. Antonio Prospero was the Duke of Milan. Prospero was the Duke of Milan. So once upon a time, Prospero, who is a magician now, was a Duke of Milan. Was a Duke of Milan. So Duke means it's a position. It's a position. It's almost like a governor, a provincial boss, head of a particular province. So Prospero is the Duke of was the Duke of Milan, whereas the country called Naples, Naples was ruled by Alonso. Was ruled by Alonso. You have Sebastian, Alonso's brother. Sebastian is Alonso's brother. You have Prospero. Prospero has a brother called Antonio, who usurps Prospero. Usurps means to remove him from the position. He joins hands with Alonso. Who Antonio has joined hands with Alonso, and both the King of Naples and Antonio, they remove Prospero from his position of dukedom, from his position called dukedom, and they also ask him to leave the island. So there is a reason behind sending him in exile. The reason is Alonso was eyeing the position of dukedom. He was fully aware that if Prospero is here, he cannot take that position. That is the reason why he joins hands with Alonso. He seeks his blessings. He asks him to help him to remove Prospero. Prospero was forcefully removed from dukedom. Prospero, along with his beautiful child called Miranda, who was very, very young, only 2 years old. She was 2 years old when she leaves Milan to an unknown island. Okay, to an unknown island. So what happens in the story is, this is the past. These are the incidents that has happened in the past. But here, this Prospero, who with the help of Gonzalo was an old counselor in Naples. He helps the former Duke Prospero to travel in a boat. to sail in a boat, sorry, to sail in a boat because he has got a beautiful young child called Miranda. So in order to look after her, or in order to, he thinks about her future. In that way, like he wants to escape from that main province, main land of Naples, from Milan. He escapes to an unknown island with a small boat. So he carries few books. He carries few books which were given by Gonzalo. Gonzalo was an old is an old counselor. Is an old counselor in the story who assists Prospero to escape from Milan to an unknown island. So in that boat he carries some books which are related to philosophy, theology, literature, and also books on some magics, sorcery, some books on magic, some sorcery or magic, black magic, you can say. So what happens there? Prospero, along with his daughter, reaches that small island. Reaches that small island. By that time, after reaching that island, before he reaches that island, he had read books of magic, and with the help of those books of magic, he was able to free a supernatural creature called Ariel. Ariel is a supernatural creature which was tucked under a tree trunk, which was captured or captivated, which was imprisoned by a magician. Not she was like a witch. There is a character called Saphoros. Okay, Saphoros she is the mother of Caliban. Mother of Caliban. She is the witch. She is a witch. She has captivated Ariel, the supernatural creature, in a tree trunk. And this man, as soon as he reaches the island, Sycorax. Sycro. Sycorax is the witch. She is the one who has imprisoned Ariel in a tree trunk. So Ariel, with the help of Prospero, Prospero frees Ariel with this magical spell, with this magical knowledge, with his knowledge of magic. Okay, so, and Ariel, on one condition, he frees Ariel. What is that condition? Ariel has to assist Prospero to take revenge against Alonso, Antonio, and other people. So what happens in the story is, this is the backdrop. He has reached that island, who Prospero, along with his beautiful daughter called Miranda, who is of 2 years. So he, with the help of Ariel, is living there. So what happens? With the help of Ariel, he kills. So Ariel, with the help of Prospero, kills Sycorax. Sycorax, as I told you, is a witch. She is killed. Sycorax has got a son called Caliban. Caliban, critics are not sure what type of creature is Caliban, because most of them, there is a discussion that whether Caliban is a nigger or a black man or what, because Shakespeare could not give the proper details for Caliban. Caliban is ignorant, innocent creature which was very, very rude, which is very, very rude in the play. Caliban, very, very harsh in his behavior. Not he cannot speak, but it is Prospero who makes him learn the language, the art of speaking. Okay, he teaches him language. He teaches him how to speak with others. So with the help of Prospero, Caliban is able to speak. So that is the reason why critics feel that like this play can be read as a post-colonial play. Like post-colonial reading of the Tempest is very, very important, because Caliban is the native owner. He is the owner of that island. Caliban with his mother, Sycorax, were living. Both of them were living in that island. It is Prospero who comes as an invader, right? Along with his daughter, isn't it? So in that way, you should also make it again post-colonial reading of the play The Tempest, because Caliban is used as a slave, as a servant, so by Prospero. So he gives him some of the trivial, small jobs. He assigns him some job like to fetch the water to fetch the water from stream, to fetch some wooden logs, okay, to burn the fire. Okay, so he gives him some menial works, and he doesn't allow him to learn the art of magic, the art of magic. The reason is he's fully aware that if he learns, Caliban may kill or may take revenge against Prospero. Caliban is also aware that his mother Cicrox is killed by Prospero. Okay, this is the situation. And now when the story opens in the first act, you can see it is the ship is sailing, the ship of Alonso, which has gone to attend his daughter's wedding. His daughter's wedding, Alonso had gone to some place to attend his daughter's wedding, and he's returning to Naples after attending the daughter's wedding. At this juncture, Prospero comes to know that the Captain King, the closed ones with whom he had an association in the past, are going in the sea, are sailing in the sea. He comes to know that they are on the ship. So in order to take revenge against them, what he does, he husks Ariel to create what? To create a kind of temporary storm or tempest in the sea. And they were forcefully pulled towards the island. Ariel, with the help of Ariel, you should not forget that, is a supernatural creature. So what he does, with its power, it was able to pull the ship towards the island. So he makes all the characters like Alonso, his brother Sebastian. You have Antonio's brother of Prospero. You have Sebastian again. You have Stefano. Stefano is a drunken butler. You have a jester called Trinculo. Usually kings in those days used to have jester for the sake of entertainment, isn't it? For the sake of entertainment, they used to have jesters in the court. So that way, he was able to pull the ship towards the island. So with the help of Ariel, he creates a kind of temporary tempest. So in the very first act, scene 1, you come to know that the tempest is already created. So those characters who have got nexus, some connection with Prospero in his past life, are the ones who are sailing in the ship. They were made to come near the island by force, okay, and they were made to scatter. So they were made to scatter. They were not allowed to travel together in the island. They were made to be scattered, like they get scattered by with the help of Ariel. They don't know each character who were sailing in the ship were made to scattered, and Trinculo, Stefano, the two courtesans. Trinculo is a jester. Stefano is a drunken butler. Both of them join hands. They meet Caliban, who has gone to fetch the water. They join hands with Caliban. They give him some wine. So after consuming the wine, Caliban behaves differently, and they try to manipulate Caliban. They try to use Caliban as their slaves. They give him some wine. So for the sake of wine, Caliban is ready to help them. This Trinculo and Stefano has a plan. They have a plan to kill. They join hands with Caliban to kill. They have a plan to kill Prospero. So by killing Prospero, they can assist Caliban to be the owner of that island. All the three characters, Caliban, Stefano, Trinculo, they all join hands together. Ariel comes to know that Caliban has joined hands with these two people associated with the court. At the same time, again, you meet Ferdinand. Ferdinand is another important character. Ferdinand is the son of Alonso. Alonso is the king of Naples. So he is a prince. He is the prince, the young prince who meets Miranda. So Miranda and Ferdinand were made to meet accidentally. Okay, Prospero comes to know that Ferdinand is the son of Alonso. Though he is aware that both his daughter and Ferdinand have fallen in love, he allows them to be together in his cave. On the other hand, you have Sebastian and Antonio, Prospero's brother, joining hands. Sebastian is the brother of Alonso, and uh, you have Sebastian and Antonio. They have joined hands to kill whom? Alonso. So in that way, Antonio wants to assist Sebastian to be the future king of Naples, because they feel that it is the right opportunity, since they are already in an island, unknown island. It is the best opportunity for Sebastian to kill his own brother Alonso. For that, he is ready to take the help of Antonio, the brother of Prospero. So these conspiracies of killing each other to reach certain heights of power are revealed by Ariel. Ariel is an invisible creature which can be seen only by Prospero. Only Prospero can see Ariel. Only Prospero can assign him some job. Whereas Caliban can be seen. You can make comparison between Caliban and Ariel. Ariel is a supernatural creature. Caliban is an earthly creature, very much earthly creature. And you have Miranda, very beautiful daughter, and you have Ferdinand, a beautiful son of King of Naples, Alonso. Alonso is about to lose his position with the conspiracy of Sebastian and Antonio. Okay, don't get confused. Write down the names of the characters in a sheet of paper. You can easily understand the story of or the plot of this play. Means what you have to do is, you may get confused with the names. Alonso and Sebastian, they are brothers. Okay, Alonso is the elder one, Sebastian is his younger brother. Alonso is the king of Naples. Prospero and Antonio, they are two brothers. Prospero is the elder one, Antonio is the younger one. So they fight for dukedom, whereas Sebastian and Alonso fight for what? The kingship. And you have Ferdinand and Miranda. Ferdinand is the daughter of Alonso. Miranda is the daughter of Ferdinand is the son of Alonso, and Miranda is the daughter of Prospero. On the other side, you have Trinculo. Trinculo is a jester, and you have a drunken butler called Stefano. On the other hand, you have earthly creature called Caliban and a supernatural creature called Ariel. So these are the characters that you see in the play, and in the end, they were all forced to come near the cave. He makes them to come near the cave. They all come together, and they are all shocked to see Prospero along with his daughter still alive, along with his daughter living in that island, still alive. They were shocked to see, and they all repent for the mistakes they commit, and the plan and the conspiracy to kill each other for kingship and dukedom was revealed. Even Ariel reveals the plan or conspiracy of Caliban, and but Caliban repents, and in the end, Prospero allows Caliban to rule the island, and even the ship which got damaged due to the tempest, gets ready. It is all ready. It is fit and fine now. They are ready to sail once again back to their homeland, that is Naples. They also take promise from Prospero that he has to be ready on the next morning to travel along with them. They prepare plans for the marriage. They have a plan for the marriage of Ferdinand along with Miranda. So Prospero is also happy that Miranda would be princess of Naples, and Alonso is also happy to meet Prospero, because they all repent or regret. It is time. The play ends with repentance, because ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕ್ಷಮಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಷಮಾದಾನ ಕೊಡೋ ಒಂದು ಗುಣ ಪ್ರಾಸ್ಪೆರೋದಲ್ಲಿದೆ. He forgives everyone. So theme of repentance is very, very important in the play. The play ends with happy note. On the next day, they sail once again towards Naples. So as I told you, they may also ask you a question, to frame question. Sorry, They may also ask you the questions in the exams on exam on character like Caliban, Ariel. Okay, comment on the structure of the plot construction of Tempest. The Tempest is a play of purely a romantic play discussed. The Tempest is a purely romantic play. Yes, there is romance, love, Ferdinand, the love that takes place between Ferdinand and Ferdinand and Miranda. At the same time, there is romance. There is nobody dies here. Nobody dies meets the tragic end. Nobody dies meets with the tragic end. Nobody dies. The play ends with a happy note, and that is the reason why this play can be easily considered as a romantic comedy. There is comedy. There are comic scenes. At the same time, there is romance. There are some incidents of love. Okay, and everything ends well. Okay, everything ends well at the end of the story, and Shakespeare has proved his critics wrong by by using all the three unities in a masterly way, means by following the guidelines of Aristotle that has been advocated in the book called Poetics. So Aristotle has prescribed certain principles to be followed when you write a tragedy. But Shakespeare, as I told you, had violated all those unities. But in this particular play, he was able to follow them, and he succeeds in it. And he has beautifully connoted or beautifully interviewed what the story or the plot of this play. All the characters are interconnected, and in the end, Caliban becomes the owner of that island. They leave it for him to live a happy life all himself. At the end, at the same time, we should not forget that Caliban is also in love with Miranda. Again, he naturally falls in love with Miranda, whereas Caliban is ugly when it comes to appearance. Physically, he is strong, but when it comes to appearance, he is ugly. Whereas Miranda is soft, timid, very beautiful, okay, and very what humble in her nature. Though Caliban has got different kind of feeling towards her, she is ready to forgive him. She like she's she knows what kind of character Caliban is, but she doesn't ill-treat Caliban the way her father treats Caliban. So that is another significant factor. There are so many issues to be discussed, but I do feel that this much is enough for on this particular text in this little bit of time that is like I spoke for almost half an hour. I think so. I think that I have covered a small a nutshell of what the gist I can say I have covered the gist or summary of the play. I spoke about the few important aspects of the play. I also spoke about the characteristic details of the dramatic persona, and uh, there are a few more things to be added. Like you can look into that later when you read the blog. There are a few more information available. You can always read. You can always depend on the blogs that we have given. Read those blogs. To still feel that it is not adequate, you can also depend on the materials that are available in the website or internet. Okay, you can search for the materials in PDF format, browse in the internet. You can always take the help of internet facilities. So thank you one and all. Uh, Meet you with a different text in the next class. Have a good day. Uh, all the best.
Good afternoon, everyone. In my previous class, I was talking about the way of the world, and let me continue with that because just I need 10 minutes to uh, give a uh, what talk about the theme of the play, and just 10 minutes enough for me to cover the entire themes and other important aspects of that particular play. And as we all know that the play is considered as a restoration comedy or comedy of manners, and as a point of departure, we know that the way of the world, especially in the all characters, the events of the play can be related to the central theme because it's quite general and every play every novel has its own major theme or the central theme. The obvious criticism is that the same theme can be described or ascribed to unlimited numbers of other and quite different novels or plays. And further, William Congreve does not in this play seem to take a consistent position. And sometimes he is direct, sometimes ironic, sometimes he deplores, sometimes he approves. At times he is amused, and most of the time his position is a compound of all of these attitudes. And to get a more satisfactory statement regarding the theme, or we might use a different approach that would give a better sense of the texture of the play. And most restoration playwrights supplied their plays with alternative titles or subtitles. And since William Congreve did not, we might seek for the different subtitles that are appropriate. Each one would suggest a theme, although not the theme, the central exactly. These may put flesh on the bare bones the title gives us. And, and the central theme or the major theme, one of the major themes of this play can be the concept of love and money. Okay, certainly, the play can be seen as a dramatic presentation of varieties of love in the England as in England of the year 1700. And central is the delicate handling of the love game as played by Mirabell and Millamant. And as I have already mentioned and informed you that the central what is the proviso scene is also very important. There we can have a love game of Mirabell and Millamant, which appears in fourth act. Okay, they represent the ideal of the restoration attitude, intense yet balanced kind of attitude. Their love based on mutual esteem with no surrender of individuality, and they both of them, Mirabell and Millamant, they feel that both of them have ego and both of them have attitude, and they should not surrender to themselves. So, with no surrender of individuality, they project themselves in the play throughout the play like that. Contrasted with it are Mirabell's earlier and quite ambiguous love affair and with Mrs. Flynn, the illicit love, okay, legal, or the illicit love of Fennel and Mrs. Marwood we could find in this play, presumably passionate but wholly without mutual trust. The spurious or suspicious nature of a young Whitwood plays to Millamant, the direct and somewhat coarse approach of Sir Wilfrid Whitwood, and at the opposite extreme completely, the aging and undignified longings of Lady Wishford, vain, unrealistic, it seems so vague, vain, unrealistic, overeager, desperate, and a little pathetic. Not only this concept, the concept of love or the theme of love is also important, but at the same time, love and money. That is also very important theme that can be considered the important theme of this play. Such an approach is closely related to that of a love made, although they are not identical. In the world whose way is presented here, love and money are values to be taken into account at all times. The sincerity of Mirabell's, throughout the play, we could find only one sincere character, that is Mirabell. Okay, Mirabell, she loves only Millamant. She loves only Mirabell. So, but still, though Mirabell plays with, he projects himself as a playboy, but still his sincere love is always towards Millamant, though he had an affair with Mrs. Fennell, Lady Wishford's daughter. The sincerity of Mirabel's love does not make him lose sight of the importance of Millamant's fortune. And Fenal, we all know he marries for money to support an illicit love of Mrs. Marwood. And apparently, the thought of marrying Mrs. Marwood without adequate money, however adequate might be defined, unthinkable. Money is Lady Wishfort's sole hold over her child and her niece. Okay, even the marriage of the servants is built on a promise of a handsome sum of money, and even the marriage of the servants also. And this is that's what the title itself says: the way of the world. So this is the world's way. Love without money is an impossible sentimental dream, and this of course it applies to present situation as well, right? So love without money is an impossible sentimental dream, although money often corrupts what love there is. And we can have a gallery of portraits and beautiful dialogues of the characters, a gallery of portraits or of characters. It is also very important. It also contribute to the structure, overall structure of the play. Congress' statement in the dedication, the prologue, and the love suggests that this might be a valid subtitle, the way of the world. So, since it is the way of the world, to put a premium on youth, Mirabel and Millamant stand at the center and representing all that is to be commended. And Mirabel is the pure ideal, right? Means beauty, ideal for beauty. He is the pure ideal, polished, poised, rational, and balanced, witty and perspicacious without being what we might today call over intellectual. Okay, and Millamant, she is the belle and feminine, beautiful, pretty, innocent, witty, not prudish, but with a sense of her own worth. And she has avoided the messiness and humiliation of sexual intrigue. And opposed to Mirabel are would-be wits and worthy but graceless bores and deep intrigues. And opposite to Millamant are women who engaged in adultery. For example, her own cousin, Mrs. Penal, and her what I can say, custodian or guardian's friend, Mrs. Marwood, all other women who seem to be engaged in adultery, and an old dogger without a decorum. And even Lady Wishford also, right? Though she is 55 years old, she wanted to woo Mirabel. And she thinks that Mirabel maybe is in love with her. But later she discovers that he is not in love with her, but except that he is in love with her niece. Okay, and every character reveals himself in action, and together they produce a gallery of self-portraits. And jungle of we could find a jungle of high interview in this play. The subtitle would focus attention on some of the values of London society of Restoration time, and everyone is engaged in interview. Mirabel interviews to gain consent to his marriage from Lady Washford, and this involves interview with interview, right? In order to woo Millamant, so he cannot able to contact Millamant directly. So he found out that through Lady Wishwood, he could be able to what get closer to Millamant. So he pretends that he pretends that he'll be in love with Lady Wishford, and even she thinks that maybe he is very much interested in. And then this involves interview within interview, for he doesn't trust Waitwin. And Mrs. Fennell, Mrs. Marwood, and other servants. Even Lady Wishford, in her willingness to marry Sir Roland, has a devious purpose later on. And revenge on Mirabel. And when Mrs. Fennell married her husband, there was part of an interview as was his marriage to her. And as we all see in the play, victory goes to Mirabel, not because of his virtue, but simply because he is the most successful interviewer. So certainly, all these possible subtitles, rather than anyone, add up to the ironic commentary on society that is in the title, "The Way of the World," and the significance of the. You may get a question like, signal, or to bring out the significance of the title, "The Way of the World." Okay, and here he nothing but he deals with the ways of the world in order to survive, settle, and to interview, to counter, and to quote women. Okay, and style, wit, and irony in the way of the world. These are the three important concepts we could able to see in this play. In the most common use of the word, that style, the style means technique, in which way the playwright wanted to execute or portray his characters or tell us the story like that. The style describes the author's use of language within the shorter rhetorical units, the sentence, or at most the paragraph sometimes. It includes the choice of words and rhythm and the rhythmic and musical quality of the sentences, since it also includes the discussion of the relations of language to thought, fact, and reality. At some point, it becomes identical with the discussion of wit and irony. Wit and irony is also very important. Wit means intelligence, okay, and irony we all know. And if irony is included in the discussion, then arbitrary limits must be set because from some point of view, and irony pervades the way of the word. The title is highly ironic, the action is ironic, the relationships of the characters to each other are also ironic. In this section, we could be able to see that, however, is concerned only with irony as a function of the speeches of characters and not as a function of plot or theme. It is concerned with that kind of irony that is closely related to style and wit. And Congreve avoids attempting any definition of wit, and although in the dedication he distinguishes between true wit and false wit. Okay, the latter a product of affectation. And another comment on Congress on wit also casts some light on his practice in concerning humor in comedy. He writes, okay, in one of his books, he writes that every person in a comedy may be allowed to speak them pleasant things. It's true, no? From a witty man, they are expected, and every fool may be permitted to stumble on them by chance. I don't think that humorous characters exclude wit. No, but the manner of it should be adapted to the humor. A character of splendid and peevish humor should have a satirical wit. A jolly and sanguine humor should have a facetious wit. So, in practice, all of Congress characters speak pleasant things. Okay, in order to keep the audience in a very good humor. Okay, so they always speak pleasant things, and there is not a speech that does not have its biting edge of wit or satire or irony. So, discussion of style and wit in a play, or in some ways simple, certain kinds of problems do not have to be discussed since they do not exist in the play. So, unlike novels, plays have no long passages of description, which may or may not be well written. There are no elaborate exposition of motives, and there is no reason to consider whether the author is inside his creature's mind or external to him. So, somewhat when we start analyzing these characters, or discussing the important style of Congress, he feels that maybe author, the playwright himself is speaking through his characters. The characters feels what they say can be examined. To talk of style or wit in a play is to talk of the different styles and different kinds of wit of the characters. And Congreve wrote so that his characters were sharply differentiated by their speech patterns and their wit as well. As Congreve used style and wit as one of his ways of characterization, the material in this section, okay, may be considered additional data for study of the characters collected here, so that a rather technical subject that can be treated in one place. Hope you all understood the major themes, important characters, and the concept of the play, and the reputation of restoration drama, the concept of restoration drama, everything. Then, no works that are part of the history of art or literature stand unencumbered by their past. So, anything for that matter, any piece of work, should have its own background. So, the way of the world becomes successful, though it was not on stage, but in literature or literary field, it became a highly successful restoration comedy. And let me move on to Kamala Das, and in this section, I wanted to uh, talk about Indian writing in English by giving a brief introduction or brief history of Indian writing in English. I'll start with. Okay, I'll move on to Kamala Das. And Kamala Das, as you all know, she is the female female writer, and that too, she made her footprints available in the history of Indian writing in English. And let me give you a brief history of Indian writing in English in a nutshell form. The rise of the Indian writing in English. What do you mean by Indian writing in English? That was the event or a period when Indians started writing in English, whether that may be a prose or a story or a poetry or a novel or a play. Got it? So the rise of the Indian writing in English is at the onset to be located historically. And the first connection that we should be looking at is the introduction of the English language as a medium of instruction in India. And for this, who are all what important in order to study, or who are all main pillars who made us to today, if we are speaking English or if we are learning in English and we are studying in English medium, it is because of the contribution by Macaulay, then Rajaram Mohan Rai, right? So they were the main proponents, what we can say, the the leaders who introduced us to English language. Right, and by making it as a medium of instruction in India, and the introduction of English literature as a subject in the universities is also very important. And before Indians could write poetry in English, two related preconditions had to be met. First, the English language had to be sufficiently Indianized to be able to express the reality of the Indian situation. Secondly, Indians had to be sufficiently anglicized to use the English language to express themselves. In 1780, India's first newspaper, Hickey's Bengal Gazette, okay, it was published in English by James Augustus Hickey in 1780. Okay, and in 1817, the Hindu College, which later became Presidency College, the premier educational institution of Bengal, was founded. These are the two important incidents took place and which paved the way for English medium education, or the English instruction to be made to the student at the college level and even at the school level. Then Macaulay's Minute upon Indian Education, introduced in 1833. This is also prescribed for your study. In course 5, you have this essay. Okay, Macaulay's Minute upon Indian Education. Yeah, sorry, there was some network issues because I think we are sometimes we cannot notice that whether we are on studio or we are completely exit and away and out of that live studio or live streaming. Yeah, coming back to Kamala Das, I was talking about themes, important themes of Kamala Das poetry. And Kamala Das, she explores powerful themes of feminism, equal rights, freedom, and marriage. And the two, especially in this particular poem, an introduction. This poem is a very clear feminist statement that advocates for free choice for all women. Hope you're all following me. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about an introduction, the very important one. This poem is a very clear, feminist oriented poem, and where we could find that she clearly makes a statement that advocates for free or equal rights. Okay, this is in regards to every aspect of life, but the poet puts a special emphasis on marriage. Because according to her, marriage curbs all her rights and she compares and contrasts the role of men and women in the same society where both of them they live in, and explains for the reader how her life, the rules she is forced to obey, infringe on her freedom. Leaders should be Especially readers should be able to ask themselves while moving through the poem how, if at all, the things one should ask or Das is talking about apply to their own life, to all of our life. Because since she belongs to Indian society, it's somewhat like it's so many questions pop up even in our mind. And if nothing matches her, they might ask themselves why and if some kind of unaddressed or unacknowledged privilege is making their lives better. And let me read out few lines from the poem. And the poem begins abruptly, like, I don't know politics, but I know the names of those in power and can repeat them like days of week or names of months, beginning with Nehru. I'm Indian, very brown, born in Malabar. I speak three languages, right into dream in one. See, this is how she starts her poem or begins abruptly saying that I don't know politics, but I know the names of those who are in power. Begins with beginning with Nehru, she says. Then she also says, I am an Indian, very brown, and born in Malabar. Means she is Keralite. Okay, born in Malabar and speak three languages, right into dream in one. So don't write in English, they said. So she is saying that just in between I'll explain the important lines, like how she is able to want to project herself and to portray herself as an Indian woman. And in the first section, lines from 1 to 13, the first section of this poem, I have divided this a bit lengthy poem, but very interesting. In the first section of this poem, the speaker begins by comparing her knowledge of politicians to the days of the week. Okay, so she says she's comparing like how do we remember weeks and days, months of the year. So she remembers. So although she doesn't have a firm grasp on politics itself, those in power have remained in her mind. So this shows their power to be much greater than their role should allow. The first of these she is able to recall is Nehru. And she says, the Nehru, I know those who are in power, beginning with Nehru, like that. So the first of these she is able to recall is Nehru, who served as India's first prime minister after the withdrawal of the British. So after these opening lines, then she says that, like, I know all of them, and I am a Malabari, like. Okay, after this opening lines, the later set the scene that the speaker want to describe her own thing, and she is Indian, brown in color, then she is from Malabar, and she speaks three languages, right? And right into dreaming one, which means she continues to describe language and the role of it, the language role, how it plays in her life by saying that she is judged for writing in English. So it is not her mother tongue. right? English is not her mother tongue, but still she wants to write in English because those days to write in English it was abandoned and it was considered as a sin because it was the Babu's English, as I have already mentioned. So whenever she is criticized for how she speaks and writes, she feels as if she is alone. So there is no one, not her friends or cousins, who back her up. They are critics everywhere. So she says, "Don't write in English." They said. She writes, "Okay, don't speak in English, don't write in English." They said. They means her cousins, elders. So she directs the next line at this group, asking them why they care what she speaks. Say, why do they worry about me? And next section, there the speaker is nothing but poetess herself. She goes on to describe herself as half English, half Indian, because she writes in English, though she is an Indian woman. She sees the humor in this combination and acknowledges that the fact that as it is, she is honest. And this seems to be one of the most important parts of her, a desire for authenticity and honesty. Her identity, as seen through her voice, is human, and just as she is human, and it should be held under that single defining category and no other. So, Kamala Das describes the control she has over her voice, whether through speech or writing or text. So it can display all of her emotions and her mind that she sees and hears and is aware. So next section, she says her unhappiness is defined. Why she is unhappy? Because she is not happy with her married life. So her unhappiness is defined in the next section of the poem, where she says that, which is directly related to a need for freedom. And when she was young, she asked for love because she didn't know what else to want. So this ended with her marriage at 16. At the age of 16, she got married, and the closing of a bedroom door. And although her husband did not beat her, but still, she says, sad woman body felt so beaten. Then somewhere we could, that's what I told you, know, she is very bold in expressing, and if you read her poems, you could able to see. So these lines tells us that though she was not beaten by her husband, but she feels that her freedom was curbed, okay, and she was completely denied of her freedom to express and to live the way she likes, like that. So this line, or especially the sad woman body felt so beaten, important line. This line of this poem and introduction is interesting, and she is placing her own body in one of the categories, like she rebelled against in the first stanza. It is due to the simplification of a woman as nothing more than a body, because she was under the view, the impression that those were the days women were treated as objects and women were objectified, like that, okay. So she rebelled against that kind of a system, and it is due to this simplification of a woman as nothing more than a body that led her to marriage at 16. So she also places blame on her own body for leading her to this place. So her distinctly female parts and are a crushing weight on her life, the pressure placed on her by her husband or her family or her relatives, like that, kith and kin, led to an emotional and mental shrinking. So it was a pitiful process, but it ended very abruptly. And she goes on to state that change came over her. What is the change came over her? She says she decided to put on her brother's trousers and cut off her hair. The speaker is ridding herself of the female image that has harmed her. Now that she is remarking her identity, that she is able to say to the traditions of womanhood, and these include fitting in and dressing in saris. The categorizers might tell her not to wear pants, not to wear skirts, but you should be in sari. So somewhere she feels that don't, the categorizers means the elders. In her words, if she says categorizers, the elders or the elders of the patriarchal society, and they were the rule makers, right? Makers of rules. And then they said, peep in through our lace draped window. Don't peep through the windows. So, but she is not going to listen. She chose to move her life beyond the traditional and therefore expand her presence in the world. And uh, it goes on like this, and very interesting poem. In the first two lines of the section of introduction, it becomes clear that the speaker is truly meant to be the poet herself, and she just don't doesn't care for other words, what they think or what they would thought about her, like that. She wonders at her own identity and marvels over the fact that she can now be Amy or be Kamala or better still be Madhavi Kuti. Actually, their elders asked her to be Kamala or be Madhavi Kuti. And it is by this final name that the poet Kamala Das came to be known and is still called. And her actual name is Madhavi Kuti. Later, she changed her name. Das added another few reminders on behalf of the categorizers. She should not play pretending games or cry embarrassingly loud. Her role as a woman is supposed to be meek, quiet, and contained. So, according to the categorizers, in quote in quote, and she says that a woman should be meek, innocent, okay, submissive, quiet, and content. And she goes on to describe a time in which she met and loved a man, and this person is referred to as man. He is not named. She doesn't want to call him as her husband. Instead, she says, "I met a man." Okay, we could find a tone of hatredness towards her husband because it was an unhappy married life, and this strips him of some of the agency. He is so in control in the next lines. Additionally, the name is of little importance as he is meant to represent every man in the world who uses women as he pleases. So, which means that he is like other men who look at women as objects. Okay, at one point, at the height of her emotions, she asks the man who he is. He replies, "It is I." The I represents the agency he has in the world. Men make their own decisions and have the ability to use the pronoun in order to get what they want. So, similarly, at the end of the section, the concluding section of the poem, we have a speaker acknowledging the constant presence of I around her. In the world, she is a part of there are I. Men everywhere she looks. Okay, because I means it resembles so many things. It gives so many messages, multiple messages. So a person of this nature is able to go and drink at 12, okay, and stay in hotels of strange towns. But can women have all those facility or all those provisions, privileges? No. So as the lines continue, the division between the speaker and the I is blurred. So I here represents the ego, right? And the what confidence, so many things, as I have told you. Eventually, our reader comes to understand that she is trying to come to terms with her own independence and identity as both saint and sinner, and she doesn't want to call herself or pretend it to be a saint. Instead, she says that I am enjoying and I easily accept the identity both as sinner and the saint. So look at her the boldness, okay, the courage of being called as a saint and a sinner, and the two accepting both the titles. So she is trapped between her own need for free life and the world which tries to keep her contained. The final statement is very important, is one of the protest and resistance. We could have a tone of resistance here and protest, and she wants to raise her voice against the male dominated society. And Kamala Das finally she states that she has aches, means pains, which belong to no one but herself, and she too can be I. So she the poem ends with this. Okay, she says that even women have so many pains in them, spiritually, physically, and psychologically, but still, not only men can be I, but even she too can be I, which is even we do have. And we could have a similar poetry in English, like American literature. We have same similar kinds of poetry, how Kamala Das writes here in India. So numerous poets have written on the struggle for equal rights in their own lives or in a wider community, like Kamala Das has. The confessional nature of this poem, the tone of confessional, yeah, the confessional tone we could find in throughout that could be found in her poetry, most of her poems, and all her poems can be considered as confessional poetry. So the confessional nature of this poem is one of the many elements that make it relatable. So readers might also be interested in Shrooms and A Married State by Catherine Phillips. If you have time, you can read all these poems. And like Kamala Das, they are very bold and they fight for equal rights through their writings. So Kamala Das, finally, after going through this poem, you may be completely agree with me, saying that of course she is the most significant Indian poet writing in English because her poetry is all about herself. Or most of the autobiographical elements we could be able to find in her poems, and she is a very well known and established, very well established poetess in Indian writing in English. Um, we have, like in her best poems, it is impossible uh, not to be moved by, and a number of things can be moved and involved in a passionate curve of rhythm, the haunting and storytelling, and sometimes it will be like a storytelling form. And images of Sterling, the ultimate resilience in the face of any relationship that threatens to devastate her vital and potential self. So she has published 11 books in Malayalam, and her prose she has written both in English or Malayalam, and she is a multiple personality, and her many literary merits have been recognized, and her poems find an honorable place in all the anthology of Indo-English poetry. And what are the major themes and concerns of Kamala Das? Kamala Das is one of the members of the poetic trinity of Indo-Anglian poets. Her poetry is characterized frustrations and disillusionment with a disarming frankness. She tried to assert her individuality through her poems, to maintaining her feminine identity, and from this revolt arose her troubles, psychological traumas, and frustrations. And first anthology was published in 1965 under the title Summer in Calcutta, I have told you. And next in 1967, The Descendants. The volume contains 29 poems. Next comes The Old Playhouse and Other Poems, which was published in 1973. What are the major themes? Love, sex, and marriage. These are the three important themes of Kamala Das poetry. Then the love theme in Kamala Das poetry, most of her poems deal with the theme of unfulfilled love. She was not satisfied, no, not fulfilled or contained or contented with love, but we could find the theme of unfulfilled love and yearning for true love. Got it? The dance of the eunuch is good example of a poem dealing with love. And most of her poems and the quest for identity, quest for love, and quest for a good partner, which could be we are able to find in his in her poetry. And Kamala Das poetry, especially the central theme of Das poetry and her greatness as a love poet, which arises from the fact that her love poetry is rated in her own personal life or personal experience. And it is an outpouring of her own loneliness and disillusionment and sense of frustration. And married at the age of, I told you, 16 itself, and finding herself tied to a hollow of friendship or relationship, and which she did not like at all, which she could not untie. Kamala Das story deposits its sensationalism, which seems to be partly a pose, makes a poignant reading, but for Kamala Das, as she tells us repeatedly, they have proved to be so. And she says, no, I told you very boldly, she accepts, I don't want to be a saint always, but I can be a sinner as well. Okay, and her love poetry is unconventional and shocking to the orthodox and for the treatment of sexual love and human body, and it is free, frank, and uninhibited. She was unconventional in life and is equally unconventional in poetry. And she is unconventional in her life, and even in the same way, unconventional in her writings. And she refused to conform to the traditional in life, and is equally unconventional in poetry. She refused to conform to the traditional role which a woman should be or a wife to be, like is expected to play. But in one of her lyrics, an introduction, especially this poem, she tells us how she was asked to belong, to conform, and how she rebelled and tried to be even with male world on its own terms. Let me quote this line and I'll end up my session. Then I wore a shirt and my brother's trouser, cut my hair short and ignored my womanliness dressed in saris. Be girl, be wife, they said. Be embroiderer, be cook, be a quarreler with servant. Fit in, oh, belong, cried the categorizers. So she says that being a woman, she shouldn't wear trousers. She should not cut her hair. Instead, she should be in sari, and she should be like a girl or a wife or a daughter. And she should learn only embroidery, and she should be a good cook, and she should quarrel only with her servant, not with elders or with men in the family. So they said, if you have all these choices, you can fit into any categories. So cried the categorizers. So, the conflict between passivity and rebellion against the male oriented universe emerges as a major theme here. A rebel, her disillusionment, then tension between love and lust. These are all forms the central core of her poetry. Okay, and in this her poem, like an introduction, we find the final analysis on acknowledgement and a celebration. Okay, a celebration of the beauty and courage of being a woman. She celebrates that, and she feels very happy. Though she thinks that though she had an unhappy married life, but still she celebrates herself as a successful woman, and she was a social rebel. And like all rebels against the accepted social norms, frustration and disillusionment were her lot in life, and her self expression in her poetry is therapeutic. Then we could have a theme like tension between love and lust. This is the ultimate vision of love forms the central core of her poetry, and her personality or her persona, no doubt, is given to carnal hungers and suffers like tragic protagonist and catastrophe inflicted upon them by their own doings. But she is not the one who wanted to be like that. Then all her poems are in confessional mode. As I said, Kamala Das, she had been called a poet in the confessional mode, and she is considered as a confessional poet. Okay, and the confessional poet deals in their poetry with personal emotional experiences and feelings, and which generally taboo. Okay, there is ruthless self analysis and the tone of utter sincerity. And the facts are not always true, but there is no deviation at all from emotional truth. Confessional means the poetry deals with their own personal emotional experiences. Then Kamala Das, a confessional poetry, the poetry of Kamala Das is confessional poetry, which is struggle to relate the private experience or personal experience with the other world as it is. So such a struggle is in evidence in the poems of Kamala Das from a very early stage. And in this particular poem and introduction, she struggles to keep her identity against the categorizers who asked to fit in. I told you, and having refused to choose a name, okay, she refused to choose a name and a role. She feels it necessary to define her identity. And in the poem, she says, "I'm saint, I'm beloved, I'm the betrayed. I have no joys which are not yours, and aches which are not yours. I do call myself I." So the painful assertion, "I do call myself I," comes from the predicament of the confessional poet. Her experiences are common and ordinary. And it's too common to give her any special identity. But the I, which experiences them, she insists that which is separate and quite unique. This to her is the only way to retain her sense of personal worth in the world of categorizers. So she sees the outer world as hostile to the world of self. So finally, and this poem is very, very important. Please go through it, the themes, the tone, and the style of writing, and how she wants to be a free woman, and she defies the set rules, and she doesn't want to follow the rules and regulations of the then society, and she follows this. So she nowhere she declares that she is a feminist, but her poem says that of course she is a not only a feminist but also a rebellious kind of feminist. She follows the school of feminism while writing this poem. At the same time, her poems, and at the same time, she is proud of being an Indian. Okay, the poet says that she speaks, as we all know, that she wanted to be Suresh Koili. Just I wish to conclude my lecture by quoting the famous statement made by Suresh Koili, Indian critic. He says that he observes that the poem An Introduction is vitally communicative in as much as it is an indication of Mrs. Das' use of language which is not her mother tongue. And he compliments, okay, Suresh Kohli compliments, and he praises her choice of language, though which was not her mother tongue, but she knows how to use that language to express her personal things or private things through writing, and in her writing especially. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Hello, everyone. I welcome you again to this post-lunch session between 4 to 5 class. Once again, good evening to everybody. Are you there? You're listening me, right? Yes, thank you, Ashwini. Some of you are saying good evening. Thank you very much. Good evening to you. See, coming back to the text, we were talking about the text, the tragical history of Dr. Faustus. In the morning session, and we have done the 3 acts. The rest of the 2 acts, act 4 and 5, I'm going to complete now. Even before that, I must tell you one important aspect, that how this play, the tragical history of Dr. Faustus, considered as a morality play. See, for exam point of view, there will be 2 questions generally appear for your exam. One is how discuss Dr. Faustus as a morality play, and consider the Dr. Faustus text as a sin and redemption. and consider the Dr. Faustus as a tragic tragedy. So these are the questions repeatedly being asked. A very a direct question will be asked. So in that sense, the question, what actually the morality play is all about. Morality play means, see, morality play were plays were dramatized, otherwise representative, a Christian life in the plot form of a quest for salvation. In the Christian allegory, in the Christian sense, because this is the English literature, British literature, based on the Christian values. You all aware of that. So here, a character in the drama of the morality plays, the character, they quest for salvation. They need a kind of a salvation for whatever the sin they have committed. So here, Dr. Faustus has committed a sin and he seeks for salvation, quest for salvation. So this is the feature that we come across a morality play. There is a kind of a moral. At the end of the play, the character, he repents, he seeks, he quests for salvation. And then, okay, and in which the crucial event or temptation, sinning, the climactic confrontation with the death. Here, the Dr. Faustus confronts the death in the fag end of the play, in the Act 5. It's a wonderful scene, I'll tell you. The usual protagonist represents the mankind. The character of a morality play will be a blood and flesh and blood character, the human character, the human mankind. Could be everyone, because we tend to do a mistake because of our own follies, because of our own kind of a hubris or conceit or arrogance, whatever. But gradually we are aware of whatever the sin we committed, what are the blunder that we committed. So this kind of a repentance is quite common in this kind of a morality play. And what happened? And then every man among the other characters are personifications of virtues, vices, and death, as well as angels and demons who contest for the prize of the soul of a mankind. So in other way, we also see these kind of devils and angels who tries to take away the contest for the prize of a soul of a mankind. So here, who is that soul? The Dr. Faustus. So we can see how one side, the characters are flesh and blood characters in morality play. The characters over a period of time, they realize what the sin they have committed. And gradually, in other way, there are also characters like, supernatural characters like angels and demons who always stand on toes to take away the soul of a mankind. They're always waiting for the human being to commit some mistakes. So these are the features of morality plays. So we can see these kind of features in this play. So that's the reason why this play is considered as a morality play. So keeping in this mind, let me get into the rest of the act. So I am going to Act 4. So now we are coming across in Act 3. What happens here? Dr. Faustus with the team members had been to the Rome and enjoyed with the company of Pope and other people and celebrations and feast and all that. So now he has come back to the place. So Act 4 talks about the first scene. Act 4 opens, the chorus tells that the Faustus is back at his home after an extensive tour. So after Dr. Faustus made an extensive tour, he has come back to his house. Of many lords he visits many lords and to the courts of many kings. He had been to, in Rome, he had been to courts, kings and all that. His friends and relations welcomed him warmly after his safe return. So what happened? His friends, as usual, his friends like Valdez and Cornelius and many other people, they welcomed him warmly, and Dr. Faustus has come back. See, this is an enactment. The play, it is, when we talk about the play, drama, these plays were much enacted than before written in a form, written form. Because in Elizabethan theatre, when we talk about the Shakespearean theatre, Shakespearean plays or Elizabethan plays, like Dr. Faustus and many other plays, they were enacted. The drama, the plays, the dramas were much more popularized through enactment, not just because of written form. Ivella beginning ಒಂದು ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ they were enacted, and because the audience of Britain, the Shakespearean theatre or Elizabethan theatre demands certain enactment. That was the only source of entertainment. Those were the days, 15th to 16th century. So these are the plays, so it's an enactment. So later on, they were put it into a book form, a written form. That always you should keep it in mind. So they all welcomed him. Dr. Faustus has come back. They discussed with him about his experiences related to his long journey through the world and air. They all about discuss about him. And he also tell that even the Emperor Charles V invited him to the dinner. He also shared an issue that, the great Emperor Charles IV had invited me for a dinner and all that, to display his wonderful feast. And his performance highly pleased the Emperor. So he made, the wonderful experiences over there, and he shares all this experience with his friends. That we come across in this Act 4. And then he is even capable of calling up spirit from the underworld. So Dr. Faustus has become a magician here. A university scholar, a great theologist has become a mere, the kind of a buffoon, a kind of a magician who arises some kind of spirits from the underworld. It is somehow people are mocking at him that he has become gradually a magician, and he tells that. And gradually, what happens? And here, Faustus is found in the court of Emperor Charles IV. So now it's in the scene 3. I've been skipping some minor incident. And so what happens in scene 3, Act 4, scene 3, the Faustus is found in the court of Emperor Charles IV. Charles V Emperor Ali, on the kingdom Ali, Dr. Faustus, he appears. So here, Charles IV and Charles V in the Emperor court, Faustus appears at Innsbruck. This is a place called Innsbruck. So his great reputation has reached his court. So, and he has been summoned by the emperor to demonstrate his malicious magical feast for the pleasure of his majesty to his courtiers. So the Charles V requested Dr. Faustus to do some magical feast, and he did that. And he was, he has become almost some magician. He did all that. So Faustus very politely agrees to display his magical feast. And then further, the Faustus decides to teach him lessons afterwards. Soon invoked by Faustus, the spirits of Alexander and his beautiful consort appear in the true shape. So now the Charles IV requested Dr. Faustus to summon, the Alexander, the great, the leader, the ancestor of Greek. So they wanted to see him. So through his black magic, through his kind of the black magic power, Dr. Faustus, he summoned him, and he gives an entertainment to this emperor. So one after another, Dr. Faustus, go on to do all kind of these magic things. And what happened? So here, the carping knights come back, but to the great surprise of all, it's found that he has grown to a pair of horns on his head. So there was one person called a carping knight. So all of a sudden, there are 2 horns on his head. Who did that? Dr. Faustus is that. So the Dr. Faustus did even such kind of a magical powers. On a night, a person called carping knight, he arises 2 kind of a horns on his head. So he does frequent magical feast. And in the scene 4, what happens? Faustus and Mephistopheles are shown resting on a green spot and talking to each other. So in scene 4, both the Dr. Faustus and Mephistopheles, they are shown resting on a green spot. They were talking to each other. And then Faustus feels that his days are numbered, and so he is in a hurry to return to the Wittenberg. The one thing Dr. Faustus summoned to, confess to Mephistopheles, saying that my days are numbering. This is the time that I should count the days, because I have completing almost 24 years. I have been to all kind of country, Naples, Troy, Greece, and many more other countries. And now there is nothing left behind. So now this is the time for me to number the days. So he's going to count the days and all that. And he tells that, let me return to the Wittenberg. I'll go to Wittenberg. Whereas he expresses desire to walk through the lovely green spot. And so this is the place where both the Mephistopheles and Dr. Faustus, in a green spot, they're resting over there. Meanwhile, a dealer in a horses turns up intending to purchase a horse. So there are some, the minor issues happen between a horse dealer and Dr. Faustus. And Dr. Faustus wanted to sell his horse, and whereas horse dealers, he bought it, and later on the horse turned into, Dr. Faustus wants the horse dealer not to put it into the water so that it becomes something different. But deliberately the horse dealer, he put that into the horse. It's a magical horse, and he put it into the well, and it has become a dry grass. And he even paid some money to the Dr. Faustus. And later on he said that, I was deceived by buying this horse. So these are the things which takes place between Dr. Faustus and the horse dealer and the Mephistopheles and all that. And gradually, the important scene was that we find Dr. Faustus in the courts of the Duke of Wanwold. This is the very important. Here afterwards, we come to know that another trajectories, another world, another sphere of Dr. Faustus' life. So these are the incident. These are the scene where we come across more of his tragical life side. What's that? We find Faustus in the court of Duke of Wanwold. So the Duke of Wanwold, the Duke is already much pleased with his demonstration of a great magical feast. So the Greek of Wanwold knows that this person, Dr. Faustus, does a lot of magical feast. And Faustus then asked the Duchess if she would like to have something special. Dr. Faustus, he asks the Duchess, the wife of the Duke, he asked the Duchess, the Queen. And the Duchess would like to have a dish of grapes in the midwinter. I require a kind of a dish of a grapes in the midwinter. Can you get me that? The very special dish of winter, that's the dish of grapes. With the help of Mephistopheles, a delicious dish of a grapes is immediately presented to the great astonishment of all. Immediately, Dr. Faustus, he presented the dish and gave it to the Duchess, the wife of the Duke of Wanwold. This is another, the kind of a magic that he has been doing to one after another. And then Faustus then unravels the mystery by telling them that there are two hemispheres in the world. There are two different kinds of world, and where there is winter in one of, we have summer in another. Because this is the time that they were discussing it is in the summer, and whereas he immediately presented that the best things of the winter, that is a grape dish. So he was talking about all that. And Faustus is suitably rewarded by the Duke and the Duchess. For whatever he has done, the Dr. Faustus, the Duke and the Duchess, they rewarded to him. So now, dear learners, I'm coming to the Act 5, which is also a very important act, and please listen it carefully. Here afterwards, now we come across the true tragic life of Dr. Faustus. The first scene of Act 5 says that, opens with a soliloquy of Wagner. The Wagner, the servant of Dr. Faustus, he talks such a way, with lots of apprehension. He says that he apprehends that his master is going to die soon. The master is forget that for a period of time that his days are counting, his days are numbering. He is completing almost his 23 years and he's towards his 24th year. After that, he's he's liable and he's there to damned. He's there to be killed by the devils. And what happens here? So here, the Wagner, he apprehends that his master is going to die soon. He has transferred all his worldly possession to him. But the way Faustus is feasting and making merriment in the company of his scholars or friends baffles him. But the Wagner, the servant, can't understand why the masters is completely indulging with his celebrations. And he's not at all enjoying. He is in a merriment. He forget that is the kind of a tragic life that he's going to live. And what happens? The day comes when his soul has to be taken away. Then it will be such a miserable, isn't it? So he tells that it is a baffles to the Wagner, and he says that soon Faustus, along with the Mephistopheles and three friends, enters to the room. So three friends of Dr. Faustus and along with the Faustus and the Mephistopheles, five of them, they enter the hall. After a long of discussions, they came to the conclusion that Helen of Greece was the loveliest of all the women in the world. So now this is a situation where they are talking about the most beautiful woman on earth. That is Helen of Greece. Okay, and because Dr. Faustus is making all kind of magical feast, and he does a lot of magic and whatever the people wants, in the moment he just out of blue he presented the gift and all that. So here, they talk about all the people. They talk about the Helen of Greece, or the loveliest of all the women in the world. So at the request of one of them requests Dr. Faustus that Faustus calls up the spirit of Helen in her exact stately and splendid form. So they requested Dr. Faustus to summon the great, beautiful lady. There's a Helen of Greece. So they have summoned. They are enraptured by the sight of the matchless beauty. It is just, it is just, what do you say? Not the flesh and blood character. She's almost like in the form of a Helen. What happened? They are enraptured by the sight of the matchless beauty, and they depart with the great satisfaction. So they are so happy by looking at the visibility of Helen of Troy, Helen of Greece, and they say that she's an enraptured beauty. She had that fascinating beauty, and they decided, and they felt with a great satisfaction. They left the place with a great satisfaction. Now, what happened? As soon as they depart, an old man approaches. And he's also one of the significance that this play is also a morality play, because the old man who advises quite often, like the good angel. So what happens here also, and he has been advised by the old man. Let's see how the old man advises. As soon as they depart, an old man approaches Faustus and urges him to turn to the right path and to repent and pray to the Christ for divine mercy. This is how the old man strongly advises to the Dr. Faustus. How does he say so here? And he says that, Faustus, you must get into the right path and repent and pray to the Christ for divine mercy. You are going to do a wrong thing and you need to pray for God. At first, Faustus is impressed by the honest appeal of the old man. Very much, impressed by that. And he was very much, appealed by the words of old man. He understood that, he knows that, they are saying his own, the benefits, his own goodwill. But whereas Dr. Faustus also understood very well that nobody can save his tragic death. And because of that, somehow he decided to just take his life for the fullest, to enjoy it to the core. But soon he realizes that there is no way out for him but to give up his soul to the devil. So Dr. Faustus says that, there is no other way than give up his soul to the devil. Though old man says, Dr. Faustus, it is inevitable as death, that is, nothing can be done now. Mephistopheles offers him a dagger and he resolves to commit suicide. Mephistopheles, who stand nearby, say that if you listen to the old man's words, if you think the divine mercy, if you think the God, and I'll offer you a dagger. The dagger is a spear and it will hit you. Dagger, and he resolves to commit suicide. And you have to decide to make yourself commit suicide. So Mephistopheles is always there nearby Dr. Faustus to just warn him, to reprimand him to be dead. So never ever, there is no way scope for thinking about the God. This is what he says. So the old man forbids him to be so desperate as to stab himself to death. So the old man forbids him to be so desperate as to stab himself to the death. Instead of by killing by the devils, it's rather better Dr. Faustus to kill himself. And he also forbids him not to do that. So in a way, morally speaking, instead of killing by the devils, it is rather to be killed by himself. And also, this man, the old man, he forbids him by killing by that. So there is a different, the connotations in that. There is a justice. The poetic justice is always there. I meant to say in terms of poetic justice. Instead of by killing himself, killed by devils, he can rather himself. It gives a kind of a poetic justice to him. So he again advises to repent and pray and tells that still he has chance to have God's mercy and to save his soul. So this is all happening in the Act 5, the fag end of the act. For the fag end of the play, that old man has become a very symbolic in terms of advising. We don't know whether he is so significant in terms of Jesus Christ, or in terms of good angel, or in terms of divines, reverberates, or something like that. So here, he strongly advises that the old man advises to repent and pray. That's the only two things. That's the only two weapons that can solve your problem from this kind of repercussions, this kind of implications of all that. The old man leaves him with a heavy heart. So here the old man, he leaves with a heavy heart. He doesn't know what to do now. He leaves with a heavy heart, and then he disappears. And now, who are there in the scene? There is a Mephistopheles and the Dr. Faustus. And Faustus is still a prey to diffidence and a vacillation. That means he's become a victim of his own modesty. See, if I say so, the Faustus is still a prey to diffidence. Diffidence antandre, a lack of self-confidence. So the Dr. Faust, he was a man of the lack of self-confidence. He was victimized of his own modesty. He had never had the dare to take his own dire decision. He did not listen to his own inner psyche. He was just became a puppet in the hands of some, a kind of a devils and or the angels, or the kind of those who are completely forbidden from the heaven, the hell people, should I say, rather, like Mephistopheles and Lucifer. And what happens? So diffidence is become victimized of his own modesty and also of his vacillation. Vacillation in the sense indecision. He is not the man who takes a decision on his own. He's always depends on somebody else. He had never so I tell you that Dr. Faustus, he was victimized of his own two kind of traits. One is that, and his diffidence and his vacillation. So, and just then Mephistopheles arrives and chastise him in the sense like he reprimands him. Mephistopheles bandan martane, reprimand martane, bedrike ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. How does he reprimands him? And for disloyalty to the devil. See, you have been disloyal to the devil. We have given you the chance to enjoy your life for 24 years, and you made a pledge, and you have been enjoying all that. You had been to Rome, you had been to Cosmic, you had been to Cosmology, you had been to Duke of Warnwold, and you had been to all the places, and you enjoyed your life to the core, and now you are going to repent to the God. Is it not the disloyalty? Asking who? Mephistopheles. You're getting the story? Excuse me, you can just even drop a message that you're able to follow me. Hope is my voice is audible and visibility is clear, and you're getting the story, and there is a gradual growth. You can just even drop a message, any one of you, that yes, you're able to follow. That's fine. That I always expect from your side. So what happened? So Mephistopheles arrives and chastises him for disloyalty to. Thank you, Samira Sahani. Okay, you're listening, able to listen it. Thank you very much. So, and he's chastised. Inta padagal baribek ನೀವು exam alli. You need to use such words like diffidence, like in his modesty and vacillation. And Mephistopheles arrives and chastises. That means he reprimands him for his disloyalty and is to the devil. And what happens further? He even threatens to tear his body to pieces for the offense. If you go against the wishes of ours, and if we threaten you to tear your body into pieces, we are going to tear you into pieces. Who says that? Mephistopheles says that. Terror-stricken Faustus submits meekly to the devil, promising to be loyal forever. He says that, I'm sorry. So terror-stricken Faustus in the sense he's completely body and soul, he is completely shattered by the reprimands of the devils. He was a terror-stricken Faustus. Dr. Faustus, because he's going to die. And such is his dramatic condition. And submit meekly to the devil. I'm sorry, I humbly submit yourself. Please don't ever punish me. Say that. And I will never be disloyal. I can rather be loyal to all of you. Anta Dr. Faustus, he begs so earnestly to the Mephistopheles. And then he even requests him to torture the old man. Mephistopheles tells that, the person who had just been to visit you, the old man, we will also torture him too, if we don't disloyal to us. And then, but Mephistopheles tells him that it is beyond their power to harm one who has firm faith in God. But whereas they can't torture the old man, because old man has not violated in any ways, that he was just his firm belief in the God. But the Dr. Faustus also would have been so firm in his believing in God, but whereas he violated it, he went against all that, and now they can't even harm a old man, but they just for the outer word they reprimanded Dr. Faustus. Then Dr. Faustus, to satisfy his mundane desires, want to have Helen as his mistress. Now the Dr. Faustus wanted to have Helen as his mistress, at least for mundane desire. What is a mundane desire? Probably it is just a physical union between Dr. Faustus and look at the line. The Dr. Faustus, to satisfy his mundane desires, What is his mundane desires? Could be is kind of a the physical desire that he had and wants to have a Helen as his mistress. I want Helen, at least I'm going to die now. I want to have a Helen as his mistress. And once more, the magnificent Helen appears and enraptures. And enraptures in the sense like she had that kind of a fascinating beauty, struck into the heart of Dr. Faustus. And then Dr. Faustus, the praises her most eloquently. He praises her most eloquently and kissed her so fervently. And he kissed her with lots of beloved, with a lot of love and affection, for heavenly delight. And he kisses her so fervently, and he's determined to have Helen and only Helen as his wife. And year afterwards, he determined to have Helen as his mistress, and to want to have lie with Helen. And see, 1 minute, I just. Yeah, so there is a one description. I think without reading out the descriptions of Helen, I think there is the fulfillment of teaching this text will not be completed. What is that? This is how he explains Helen, the beautiful Helen, because this is a very, very sure in this juncture, because with the Fagan, this is how the Dr. Faustus he explores inner feelings towards Helen. He says that, was this the lovely face of Helen? See, this is the line. Was this the face that launched the 1,000 ships? People have made a big war, the war, the Trojan War happened because of why? Because of this beautiful queen. See, was this the face that launched the 1,000 ships? This is how the sentence begins. The sentence is there in the Act 5. Don't forget to mention it is the lines in your exam point of view. That's a real, the kind of invocations of Dr. Faustus towards Helen has been well brought out here. Absolutely, material word. Some of you use the right phrase. See, was this the face, lovely face of Helen, for whom thousands of Greek and Trojan ships were engaged in battle, bringing to the ground? There was a battle took place, and the tall minarets and castles of Ilium. Oh, sweet Helen, make me immortal with a kiss. So he says that if you just kiss me, you'll be immortal. So just make me immortal by giving a kiss. And she kisses him. I mean, it's in the kind of imagination world. She has enraptured my soul with her honeyed lips. My soul is soaring in the ecstasy of joy. The moment he listens, he imagines, when he looks at the presence of Helen, when he feels that she kisses him, and she tells that, my soul is soaring in the ecstasy of joy. Sweet Helen, give back my soul to me. You have taken away my soul. Give back to my soul again. I will dwell with her forever. For in these lips, there is a heaven, and everything else is base and trifle. Nothing is important. Everything is a trifle. And except being the presence of Helen, I shall act as a Paris for her, and instead of destroying the Troy, I shall, if need be, destroy the Wittenberg. I can ready to destroy anything for her, and I will challenge her coward husband Menelaus. I can fight with the Menelaus, the Greek, the weak Menelaus, the husband of Helen. I can also fight with the cowardly husband Menelaus and wear her and favor and titles on my chest. I will wound Achilles in his heels, and having killed him, I will return again to kiss sweet Helen. You can fight with Achilles, you can fight with the Menelaus, you can sacrifice anything, you can destroy the Wittenberg for the Helen's sake, for a lady. I will wound Achilles in his heel, and having killed him, I will return again to kiss sweet Helen. Oh Helen, you having killed me, I will return again to kiss sweet Helen. Oh Helen, you are more beautiful than the enchanting sky of sunset, decked with thousands of stars. You are the more glorious than the god Jupiter. The god Jupiter is the most beautiful thing, and he appeared before his beloved Semele and his fear form. See the simile, metaphor, the personification, the glorifications, it goes on and on. So he looks for the presence of the Helen, and he wants to kissed by a Helen, so that he will be immortal. He'll be reach the eternal. There'll be no death to him. He'll be immortal. That's the reason. And what happened? And he kisses her fervently for heavenly delight. He's determined to have Ellen and only Ellen as his wife. So he wanted to have Ellen as his wife. And next, the Act 2 comes. So far, I described the scene 1, Act 5. Now it is scene 2. The old man once more comes to Faustus and makes his last attempt to bring him back to the right path. Again, after all, the Mephistopheles reprimanded him, and again, this old man approached. The old man came here, and how does he say that? Again, you have a chance to come back to the God, come back to the right path. But nothing is of any avail now. The devils are once more busy in torturing and tempting him, because the time is up. He is completing 24 years. There are 1 or 2 days are left. Whoever come, however they request, however they plead and appeal, and there is nothing, there is no way to solve, there is no way to rescue Dr. Faustus from the devils. Because, after 24 years, they're going to tear his body into pieces. They're going to take his soul away. This is the inevitable thing, isn't it? It's an inevitable thing. It is bound to happen. There is no other way, because it's been written written, and that's been a deed has been done. And then, but he remains unaffected, having his firm faith in the ultimate victory of the forces of God. And still, the old man believes that you have still strong faith to believe the God. Some of you strongly believe the God. So that's how the old man is telling. And now we are scene 3. This is the great death scene laid in the room in Faustus' house. So the fag end of the Dr. Faustus' life, we understood very well in the scene 3 and scene. Yeah, that's the scene. That's the last scene. The scene 3. This is a great death scene laid in the room in Faustus' house. Faustus is keen, talking to his 3 scholars friends rather incoherently. There is a lot kind of the mental imbalance in Dr. Faustus, because his soul is going to be taken away from the devils, isn't it? And now he's sitting in a room and lay down in a room in Faustus' house. Faustus is keen, talking to his 3 scholars. On a more jana, there were classmates and the scholars and Wittenberg scholars. He's talking to his friends rather incoherently. There is no consistency in his talk. There is an incoherence in his talk. The dialogues are muttering. The dialogues are going to disarray. The dialogues are not going to be properly symmetrically arranged. The dialogues are completely haphazard. Expecting the devil to come and take him away after an hour, because the only 1 hour is left. After 1 hour, his soul is going to be taken away by the devils. But so there is only 1 hour is left out. He's sad and in a repentance mode. Now he is in a sad and repentance mode. Is it possible? So are we not even looking at ourselves in the Dr. Faustus? See, there are 2 terms that you all have to remember. That is character in destiny and destiny is character. Hope you remember these terms. When it is Shakespearean character, character is destiny. Character is destiny. The character is destiny in the sense they're all flesh and blood character. Hamlet had an indecisiveness problem. Julius Caesar had some problem. Could be like his or ambitious. And we have Othello, he has his own problem, like his suspicions. King Lear had his own problem, he's a credulous, easily believed people. Macbeth has his own problem that he's become more ambitious. See, every character of Shakespearean characters, every heroes of Shakespearean characters, they are the character in destiny. They had some flaws, they had some weakness, so they led their tragic death. In the same way, we have our Dr. Faustus. He had his own follies, he had his own weakness. Because of his own follies, he led a tragic death. So he is a character in destiny. Whereas destiny's character, we can see in the Greek plays like Oedipus Rex and Agamemnon. If you look at how the plays begins in Oedipus Rex and Agamemnon, the chorus are very much coming in the beginning, and they say that the characters like Agamemnon and Oedipus Rex, their life story is so and so, because of their own weakness, because their fate is already predestined. Or hige hagbidtare, their life is like that anta beginning alla chorus bande helbidtare, because the destiny's character, they are the predestined characters. Ivara life hige irutte anta avara characters bandu helbidtare. But other, whereas they are the destined character, the destiny in character, whereas character destiny, because the characters are very much flesh and blood character. They have their own problems, so that they're led a tragic death. So our own Dr. Faustus is also one among them. He had some problems. See, are we not visualizing ourselves with the character of Dr. Faustus? There are many things which reprimands. Somebody tells us not to do or not that, but we do it because of our own hubris, our own kind of a the kind of a arrogance, and we have their own supremacy. I know I can kill this weak person. I know I can slap somebody else, because they're susceptible. They fall prey. They're weakened. In that sense, Dr. Faustus, for his own hubris in the sense like the kind of a arrogance, and he went against the God, and today he led his tragic death. So in this juncture, I remember that. So what happened now? His friend think that too much of a loneliness. So why Dr. Faustus led a tragic death? This is important. They're saying like this. His friends think that too much of a lonely life has become a source of malady for him. Our Dr. Faustus, that's your problem. You have never mingled with the people. You have never spoken to us. You have never been with us. That's a problem that you did it. I think if you had been with us, I think this problem would not have come to you. This kind of ideology or a thinking would never come to your mind. Probably your loneliness, your life of aloofness, the solitude life led you to the tragic death. The friends ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. After all, in the fag end of somebody's life, they're always come forward and advise us. But what happens now? But Faustus finally confesses to them that how he has sold his soul to the devils for enjoying worldly power and puff for 24 years. ಒಂದು ಭೋಗ್ಯ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ the mundane life ಪ್ಲೆಜರ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಆತ್ಮವನ್ನ 24 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೀಮಿತ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಿಟ್ಟ. So saddened. I should not have committed my life or self for 24 years just to enjoy the worldly pleasure. Even the prapanchika bhogyagoskara ee tara tap madna. So he's repenting now. See, when you are arrogant, you don't know what mistake that you are going to commit. But if after everything diminishes, after everything solves, now you need to count your days, and you have to pay heavily for whatever misconduct that you have been done so far. And he's remembering that he has accepted eternal damnation of his own accord. Very yaru madilla, nane madkondantaddu. I've led his tragic death. This kind of a damnation of my own accord. According to myself, I did that, and there is no way of escaping now. Ella tappu madbittu. Now, how do I seek for the mercy? How do I seek for mercy? We get clear image, Dr. Faustus, by hearing your lecture. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very happy that you are able to follow it. And once you listen the class, you better read it the text, and you certainly will understand. Now, so what happened? Let me come back. He has accepted eternal damnation of his own accord, and there is no way of escaping now. So there is no other ways. There is no. Okay. Let me. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. There was a little disturbance. Okay, and you're listening. Yes, I come back. What happens? So now what happens? Yeah, there's a little interruption. Sorry for the interruption. Come back to the story. So, but Faustus finally confessed to them how he has sold his soul to the devil for the enjoying the worldly power and pay for all that. So he's confessing that. So I think the video and the audio is clear, right? You're able to listen me now. Yes, both are clear. Really? So now, can you hear me now? Excuse me. Is audio clear? I mean, the voice also clear? Yes, fine. So what happened? So Dr. Faustus, he made his problem by his own. And now the scholars and the friends are much upset and tell Faustus that he ought to have told them all about this much earlier. They urge him to repent and pray his God, no limit to the God's mercy. There is no limit to the God's mercy. So you better repent now. He tells them that if he is now beyond his power to raise up his hands in prayer, as the devils would tear him into pieces. The moment if I just hold my hands to pray God, the devils will tear me into pieces. It is too late for his friends to help him in a way, so he requests them to retire to the next room and pray for his soul. If you are beneficial to me, if you are beneficial to me, if you are going to think about my well-wishing, you better, sit in the next room and you think about, you can pray for me. And then he will have to face death and damnation alone and absolutely alone. So there are no other ways that I'm going to face this problem. So next, the scholars have left to the further room. The scholars hope both the audio and the video is clear, dear students. Hope I'm audible to you. Just drop me a message. Some of you are saying no video and audio. Okay. The scholars have left. Okay, I'm audible. Fine. The clock strikes 11. The warning him that he has only 1 hour left. The heart strikes. The clock strikes, and he has left with only 1 hour. And to breathe on his earth. So he has 1 hour to breathe in his arm. The deep anguish of his soul finds expression in a pining soliloquy. He is in a utmost soliloquy, and he makes a fervent appeal to the space of heaven to stop the movement so that the fateful hour at midnight may never arrive. He requests to the spare, oh, earth, don't move. If you move, at least I can rest for a while. The day will never come, so I will be stagnant. See the kind of his request. The moment so that the fateful hour at midnight may never arrive at all. He wistfully wishes that the final hour may be lengthened to a year. At least the final hour can be lengthened to the year. 1 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದಾ ಈ 1 ಗಂಟೆ? At least a month, at least 1 month ತನಕ ಉಳ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದಾ ಈ 1 ಗಂಟೆ? So look at that. These hours should be stretches towards a month or a week, at least even to a day, so that he may not get a chance to repent and pray to save his soul. So that he can repent forever and ever, and he will repent now. But time and tide wait for no one. But adre time and tide wait for nobody. Time and tide wait for none. And the horrors of the impending doom drives him to a fit of frenzy, because he's approaching 1 hour. The 1 hour is left, and he's in a frenzy mood. He's worried so much. He's become like a little mental malady. And what happens? And he seems to have a vision of Christ's holy blood. Now he remembers to the holy blood of Christ. The moment the Christ has been crucified, when the blood drops from his body, and he says that the Christ's holy blood streaming down in the sky, 1 drop of the Savior's blood, 1 drop of blood of Christ, our Savior's, may wash all his sins, all the sins of Dr. Faustus. And in this desperation, he appeals to the mountains. So in this desperation, he appeals to the mountains. Henga request ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, this is the very, very traumatic conditions of the Dr. Faustus. How does he? In this desperations, he appeals to the mountains to fall down to cover him. Oh mountains, you just better fall upon me, so that I hide somewhere, amidst of the mountains. ಆ ಮೌಂಟೇನ್ ನನ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿದ್ದರೆ ನಾನು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ, so that the devils will never come to take me away. Hope you're listening me. Just put a comment that you're listening. Okay, you stop sending messages. So what happened? You just drop a message that you're getting. These are the very traumatic conditions of the Dr. Faustus. He says that he appeals to the mountains to fall down to cover him. Fall down, mountains to fall down to cover him, and to the earth to open wide and swallow him, and to the stars to raise him up like a masses of vapor. What happened? So even to the earth to wide open, oh earth, you just wide open, so that I just jump inside and somewhere I hide myself over there, and swallow me, oh earth, you better swallow me anta kelkoltane. And then and to the stars, to the rise up, to the light, to the masses of the vapor, into the very depth of dark clouds. On your stars, raise me up to the clouds, so that I may hide somewhere in the dark clouds to save him for the clutches of the devils, so that I'll be released from the clutches of these devils. ದೆವ್ವಗಳ ಒಂದು ಬಂಧನದಿಂದ ನಾನು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಆಗ್ತೀನಿ. You're in an imaginary mode. That's wonderful. Literature is such that. Good. What does he say so then? A masses of vapor into the very depth of dark clouds to save me. I request all of you to mention all these lines in the exam. And this is the kind of a very, very traumatic condition that Dr. Faustus. Prove that it's a tragedy. Hope you very sincerely able to do that. So, and he says that, oh stars, raise me up like a masses of vapor into the very depth of dark clouds to save me from the clutches of the devils. But nothing happens and all hopes are delayed. So whereas now nothing is left out, nothing will happen, but everything has just become a dramatic conditions. He may request, he may put forth his appeal, but nothing can be changed. After all, he has to lead his tragic death. Just another half an hour is left for Dr. Faustus without any hope for any quarter. So he has left with only half an hour, Dr. Faustus, to be killed by the devils. How does he? Yes, good, Ashwin. And then what happened? His only desire now is that there may be some time limit to his torture in the hell. Let it be 1,000 years or even 100,000 years. Let it not be an eternal damnation. In his desperation, very much wishes he were born a beast without a soul. He says that I would have been born as a beast. On the praniyaಗಿ ಬದುಕಬಹುದಾಗಿತ್ತು, ನನ್ನ ಜನ್ಮ ತರಬಹುದಾಗಿತ್ತು. I would have been rather born as a beast rather than a man with a soul. I would have been just born as a beast, not like a soul. But there is no ray of hope now. There is no ray of hope. The clock strikes 12. The clock strikes 12. There is a thunder and the lightning. And here there is a thunder and the lightning. The devils enter. The devils, they enter. The devils enter. Choke him to death. They choke in the sense like hold his, strangle him, smother him. All the devils enter, choke him to death, and tear his body into pieces, and snatch away his soul to the hell for eternal damnations. I repeat these lines. What happens? So let it not be an eternal damnation. In his desperation, he is very much wishes you were to born as a beast without a soul, but there is no ray of hope. And the clock strikes 12, and there is a thunder and the lightning. The devils enter. All the devils enter one after another. Just imagine that I'm a Dr. Faustus. There are all the devils that enter me now because I'm the only one here. They come here. What happened? All the devils that tear me into pieces, into Dr. Faustus, and choke him to death, and tear his body to pieces, and snatch his soul away, and hell for eternal damnations. The moment all the devils, they come forward, and all his prayers, they went in vain, and the devils came forward, and they took his soul away, and they made into the pieces, they tear into pieces, and that's where the drama ends. And now another person enters, the chorus. When the play begins, it begins with a chorus speech, and when the play ends, again the chorus comes. But I must tell you, see how the Dr. Faustus. Let me complete the chorus words, then I'll get back to the lines of the chorus. This is the final epilogue. The final chorus is the epilogue. The final choric speech moralizes upon the meteoric rise and the fall of Dr. Faustus. The sudden downfall of Dr. Faustus. The chorus tells about the sudden downfalls of the Dr. Faustus. It laments his premature death. The chorus speech, the chorus is laments. He laments for the premature death. It is a premature death because he's a great scholar of university and he should not have met a premature death. What do we say, like, akalika anta heltivalla, the premature death, because he is a man with this great scholar, had to live for long, but because of his own arrogance or his own anagnosis, what Aristotle says in his Poetics, anagnosis, because of his own hubris, because of his own the follies, he led his death. He laments his premature death in spite of all his scholarship and erudition. He is a man of a scholar. He's a great scholar. He's a theologist with all his erudition. That means that he knows all branches of study and his own vicious way of gaining power. Vicious antandre ondu ketta dhari. Vicious antandre the kind of a very, for example, we have these vicious tendencies to gain money, power, and all that. We go into such a ways of a vicious tendency because of his own vicious way of gaining power and position brought about his eternal damnation. Because of his own power hungry to enjoy the worldly pleasure, he led his damnations. This should serve as a great warning to all humanity. Is it not a great message to all humanity? Absolutely true. And what happens here to the wise people like Dr. Faustus, to the wise people, that one should never dwell deep into such forbidden or a mysterious subject. What is this, a forbidden and the mysterious subject? It is a necromancy. Devagalana rise martini. You raise the dead bodies and talk to their soul and the necromancy, the black magic magician this is a great lesson in life. So what happened? It is a wise people that one should never dwell deep into such forbidden or mysterious subject as are rightly forbidden by heavenly powers. Heavenly powers are supreme powers, and whereas this necromancy, it is a forbidden subject matters. So here Dr. Faustus, when the play opens, the Dr. Faustus words are entirely different. When the play opens, his words are, and he was so exclaimed. I don't know, where did I keep my textbook? He said that, yes, there is a line. I must tell you the first line, the way the play begins. This is a very interesting. Yeah, the play begins like this. What a world of profit. He thinks that this is a world of profit and omnipotence. Everybody will be a powerful, everybody will be a omnipotence and the world of profit. But when the souls are taken away, his soul, he's nothing. He's zero. He's completely nihilistic. So this is a lesson in everyone's life, that if you go against the God, this is the lesson. This is something bestowed to you. If you go against the God, this is the bestowed to you. So dear learners, hope you enjoyed this play, the tragical history of Dr. Faustus, and hope you. So I gave you the entire play overview of the play, and here what are the things important. Please you go home and do some homework on what actually meant by the Renaissance period, the Renaissance literature. I hope I gave you some important concept on that. And after that, please you do a little homework on what actually called morality plays and the mystery plays and the interludes. Interludes, morality plays and the mystery plays. And gradually, please you do read about what is mean by blank verse. What do you mean by blank verse? Because it is written in a form of a blank verse. The writing styles of this play. And you also work on 7 deadly sins. And remember the words of good angel and the evil angel, and how Dr. Faustus frequently threatened by Mephistopheles, and some dialogues of Dr. Faustus. All these things will certainly help you to understand this play. So certainly, I hope you all enjoyed, and I wish you good luck. And tomorrow, probably I have my second class. I'll meet you. Hope you all have enjoyed it. Thank you very much. So let me take a little snapshot of the class. So I haven't logged it. You can put 1 or 2 words and any queries, 1 or 2 questions, so that I'll end the session. So one or two questions? One or two questions from your side? Any comments? Any observation from your side so that I'm able to talk? Okay, if he spell God's name at least at his end, God got mercy, and they would never even allow him for the God's to utter a single word. He cannot. He can't. That is the kind of the situation was prevailed that was the time. He would never even can't imagine a little imagination for the God also. So exam point of view, I already told you quite a few questions, like Dr. Faustus is a mystery and morality place, and Dr. Faustus is a tragedy, and Dr. Faustus is a sin and damnations. These are the questions, typical questions. You can even get the question paper from the website of the university. Otherwise, once the classes are over, a fine day, probably after your class on a fine day, you can just call me up. One of you. You can just call me up one after another within the official time. Of whatever the subject that I taught. Okay, let me make it very clear. Tomorrow, I may teach you, the 19th century literature. Either we have a novel. So far, I haven't taught you a novel. I may teach you either novel, The Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Okay, and otherwise, I may take up. Does we consider as a tragical ending of absolutely Yogeshwari Lokesh? It is a tragical end because and you literally felt the pity and fear, isn't it? You sense two things. One is the pity and fear. You are so scared the way they all have flocked together and taken away his soul away, and feel so pity because he's almost like us, the man who tend to do some mistakes, the man of flesh and blood. But this is outrageous. So everyone's tendency should not be outrageous. When the things have become outrageous, the problem is bound to happen. Things bound to happen. So half an hour he asked, excuse God, but why not help him? Because once he is, I must tell you this absolute important question. I appreciate this question. Even in the last one half an hour, he asked, excuse God, but why not help him? I must tell you, see, once he cuts his hand, when the blood chills from it, and he has to take the blood and he has to write his deed. He has to pledge his soul, remember? And immediately I told you his blood become congealed. Congealed antandre rakta heppugatti bidutte. Avanu raktinda bariyokke avakasha madkodalla. That means it's an indication of the God. But even then, what did he do that? He takes a burning coal and puts on the congealed blood, and again the blood became liquid, and he writes that. So many times, many occasions, he did certain things which against the God. So if that is the situation, and when the old man comes, when good angel tells, despite of many recurrent repeated admonishing, repeated admonishment, or the repeated reprimands, he didn't even listen that. As such a person, how you expect the God can save him? Do you expect it? I don't think that you may repent after all. Of course, he may repent after all, but doesn't solve the problem. But whatever he has done so far, the great scholar who would have maintained the kind of erudition of the scholar, but how has he become? He's become a puppet in the hands of devils. He become a puppet in the hands of the devils, which he had not done that, which he should not have done that. So it is a tragedy. And dear student, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm very glad that you all respond so well for the understanding this play. This play will be a definite play for your exam. There'll be a questions for short note. There'll be a question for a 10 marks question. Hope you certainly certainly will do a better job. Whatever I've made, describe the entire play, and remember all the words, quotations of the Helens, and quotations the way he wanted to become, cover himself under the mountains, and how he expect the earth to be wide open, and he want to jump into hide himself, and he wanted to be a drop in the ocean. That I think I've forgotten to tell you. Even he wanted to be a drop in the ocean. Made me a drop in the ocean, so somehow I survive over there. He's gone such an extent to implore God. So thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. Yes, Renaissance is rebirth. And where is Renaissance indicating here is, see, certain extent that, I mean, these are very important questions. I want you to a little work on that. See, it's indirectly, it tells you to understand the what we call as a knowledge. So whatever you have gained with utmost hard work, utmost erudition, you need to restore it. You need to keep it yourself. You shouldn't let it go outside. So it's a reminder to all the scholars, because this play is inspired from the Italian Renaissance movement, where the knowledge, when the art has to be restored, that has to be preserved and shouldn't let it go off. So in a symbolic way, it's portrayed. I want you to do a little research on that. I think in the beginning of my classes, I explored some little ideas on a Renaissance. A typical play is our Dr. Faustus text. I mean, Marlowe's text is all about. And yes, Dr. Faustus is a Christian play about sin and damnation. Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay, and hope you enjoyed it, and hope you all have my number. You can talk to me during official time. Introduce yourself that you attended the class and all that. Then we'll go for discussion. I'm almost free between 10:30 to 5:30, except teaching online classes. And good luck to you people. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm going to yes, of course, you have to read the original text. When you read the original text, you will have a command over the subject matter. Make use of my classroom narration now, and you will read the original text, and you will certainly enjoy it. Shall I just leave the studio? It's time up. So good luck to your study. I'll meet you tomorrow. My class is tomorrow between, you all know the timetable, right? My class is between 11:30 to 12:30, and I'll teach you probably Alexander Pope, the Republic. Otherwise, this text, that is Emily Bronte, the Wuthering Heights. Okay, mentally be thorough on these two texts. Let us discuss on that. Thank you very much. I'm going to leave the studio now.